Sims Nation, it is Labor Day weekend, and we are back once again with an honest review. And this time, your boy Positively Pat Sims decided to go a different route than we did last weekend when we reviewed Fit for TV, The Reality of the Biggest Loser, which we did not review very favorably here on Honest Reviews. And we have decided, or I have decided, that we're going to go a different route this week and go with one of my all-time favorite films, which means you're absolutely going to get a positive review here, but still an honest one. All right. And we are talking about the 1990 live-action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. And one of the cool things about this film was when I was growing up, the Ninja Turtles were huge. I was a huge fan of the Ninja Turtles, both from the comic books as well as your Saturday morning cartoon show that everybody and their mother knows the theme to, right? Who doesn't know the theme to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? I mean, it was everywhere. And still to this day, everybody knows that theme. And so being a fan, I was super excited to get to see these Ninja Turtles in live action on the big screen. And this movie did not disappoint. However, there were a lot of questions going into this Ninja Turtle movie. Number one, was this going to be based off of the cartoon series, or was this going to be based off of the comic book series? Because these are two completely different things. The Ninja Turtle source material with the comic books was always taken much more seriously. The Ninja Turtles, I mean, it's a ridiculous concept if you really stopped and thought about it. The idea of these mutant turtles being ninjas and all that stuff. It was treated with respect by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird, who are the creators of the Ninja Turtles. The cartoon did what a Saturday morning cartoon did. The cartoon made it very kid-friendly. It was accessible to everyone, whereas the comic might be a little bit more violent. It was a lot darker, a lot more serious undertones and storylines. But the cartoon was very kid-friendly and was essentially, like every cartoon in the 80s, was designed to sell toys. And that's exactly what it did. And the Ninja Turtle craze took off. And in 1990, when this movie came out, I was 9 years old. And I'll never forget seeing it for the first time in the theater. And it was, to me at that time, it was the greatest thing that I'd ever seen, ever. And I'd seen Star Wars at that point multiple times. I'd seen the Star Trek films that I liked. I'd seen all kinds of stuff that was great. But this was exactly what I wanted to see when I needed to see it. And you don't hear about this very often anymore, but I saw it in the theaters 11 times. It's a number I have never forgotten because it's the only time I ever kept track. Because once we got over like 3 or 4, I was like, okay, number 5, number 6, number 7, number 8. And yeah, I made it to the theater 11 times to see Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And that's back when you could, because movies stayed in the theater for as long as they made money. Nowadays, you got movies jumping to digital within weeks, and it's a whole different ball game. 80s and 90s cartoons are the best, hands down, no competition at all. I can't argue that. There's a reason why there's another 80s cartoon come to life very soon on the big screen with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. We've seen Chip 'n Dale's Rescue Rangers make their way to Disney Plus for their own movie. All we need is Darkwing Duck. Isn't that right? Zack Snyder's Darkwing Duck, I think is what I said in one of our old top 10 lists. But there was a lot of questions going into this. And believe it or not, if you weren't alive during that time, there was some controversy. Whoa, I said that wrong. Controversy surrounding this film after it came out, because this was a different time. And the movie did end up being a lot more based on the comic book than it was the cartoon, which meant it felt darker. It was taken much more seriously, with a lot more serious undertones and emotions and heart, and the violence that comes along with it. Now, we didn't see a lot of death on the screen, but we did see one that we, there's no way he didn't, and we'll get to that, but we did get a sequel out of it, so that's going to be hard to explain when we get there. But this film was an independently made film. This was not part of the major studio system, and it was so successful that this film held the record for the most profitable, most successful independent film of all time until, anyone want to take a guess? Anyone? The answer is the Blair Witch Project. That surprised me a little bit, because I keep forgetting how that horrible film was very successful. And because it was marketed well, let's be honest, the Blair Witch Project's marketing team was brilliant, and that's why it was successful. I myself didn't really care for it. Anyway, directed by Steve Barron, who did a fantastic job with the film, who clashed with Golden Harvest on numerous occasions because his vision for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was different from theirs. Golden Harvest thought they were going to put together something closer to the cartoon. But I'll tell you what, when you take things like this that are kind of ridiculous and out there, and you think of that, most superheroes are kind of ridiculous on the surface. Superman's ridiculous on the surface. Batman is kind of ridiculous on the surface. But you can make them epic and incredible by treating the source material with respect, with seriousness, and going out to make a film, a piece of art, something that you want to go to the theater to see again and again. Now, there's nothing wrong with making something fun, something light, or whatever. But I think, for me, I've always been more of a fan of something that's a hint darker and a little more serious, which is why if you give me the option, do you like Batman or do you like Superman? I'm a Batman guy. Do you like Raphael or do you like Leonardo? I like Raphael. All right? Not just because he's got a red bandana. That helps, because my favorite color is red. But Raphael is my go-to guy, and it has a lot more to do with his character than it does the color of his headband. That's just always how I've been. And I don't think that's ever going to change, So anyway, let's get into who's in this film. And this isn't exactly a who's who. Remember, this is a lower budget film that couldn't bring in huge big names, but you're going to hear at least one that you're going to go, oh, I know that name. But you might be like, what do I know him from? And first of all is April O'Neil. We have Judith Hoag, and I thought she did a great job as April. I think she captured the spirit of April, the seriousness that April should have as a reporter that's trying to actually do some good and get, not just tell a story, but try to help with that. And I love the way she goes after the police commissioner, Charles, which was Chief Stearns, the police chief Stearns, how she goes after him, and it's really cool. Casey Jones makes an appearance in this film but played by Elias Koteas, and you don't see too much of him after this. He has appeared in actually quite a few things, but nothing major. I remember we saw him in a film called The Fourth Kind, which was it was a fake true story, which is really weird to say, but the movie is essentially a fictional story from beginning to end that pretends that it's intertwining real footage with the movie. And it actually doesn't. The movie comes in at the beginning and tells you that's what it is, only to give you a completely fictional account of everything. None of it ever happened. Josh, I don't even know how to pronounce the last name. Pais, Josh Pace, or whatever. And my apologies, Josh, but because I love you. You did a great job. Is Raphael. He's the voice of Raphael, and he's also the passenger in the taxi cab that goes, "What was that?" And then the taxi cab driver says, "It looked like a big turtle in a trench coat." You go into LaGuardia, right, which is kind of like, get it. New Yorkers, it doesn't bother them. McKellen Sisti is Michaelangelo and the Pizza Man. So that's a pretty cool little thing there. Donatello, Leif Tilden, and he is also a foot messenger. So the guy that tells April O'Neil, "We have a message for you, shut it." That is the man playing Donatello. David Foreman plays Leonardo and one of the gang members. Michael Turney as Danny Pennington, who at the end of the film says it's just Dan now, which was weird and came out of nowhere. Like, it was really weird. Like, "Hey, I ran away from home. I've realized my mistakes. I'm coming home, Dad. By the way, I'm a man now. Call me Dan." Like, it was really weird. It's felt weird in that moment. Jay Patterson as Charles Pennington, who is April O'Neil's boss. You got Raymond Serra as Chief Stearns, who we talked about, who has it in for April, just does not like April. James Saito as the Shredder Oroku Saki, and did a fantastic job there. Toshishiro Obata as Tatsu, the unfortunate character that in both films plays this really hard, like, henchman. Like, he's the Shredder's right-hand man, and he's beating up people in the back, and if he doesn't get his way, he's going to throw his fit, and he's going to do all this stuff, and he's taken out by a golf club by Casey Jones. And in the second one, even worse. He sets up, never really fights anybody, any of the good guys. I mean, he kind of throws a couple punches and stuff at Casey, but he never fights the turtles. They just all turn around and back into him with their shells in the second one, and that takes him out, which, okay. Now, here you go. The head thug is none other than Hollywood star Sam Rockwell, a very young Sam Rockwell. Now, my wife doesn't remember who that is, but if you look up the films Iron Man 2, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Galaxy Quest, which is maybe one of my favorites with him in it, you'll find Sam Rockwell. Now, there's a lot more with him, but definitely check out Sam in the Ninja Turtle film. See if you can spot him there. I remember watching it as I grew up and thinking, like, man, this guy looks familiar. It's like I feel like he's been in other stuff. Some other things here as I'm going through the list, because a lot of these you wouldn't really know, or it's not important to what we're doing here. All right, the voice of Michaelangelo is Robbie Rist. All right. The voice of Leonardo is Brian Tochi. And Brian, you might remember from a little film called Revenge of the Nerds. So, Splinter, performed and voiced by Kevin Clash. And for those of you who don't know who Kevin Clash is, I have one word for you. Elmo. All right. David McCharron is the Shredder, the voice of the Shredder. Oh man, some of these names are tough. Michael McConaughey as Tatsu, the voice of Tatsu. And the Lost Boy himself, the Goonie who dreams a little dream, Corey Feldman as the original voice of Donatello. Corey would not be a part of Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze, but would return as the voice of Donatello in the oft-forgotten, for good reason, Ninja Turtles 3. And let's get to the chat here. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie has everything. I got mad, got sad, got happy, excited, mad and sad again, and happy. It's a wild ride. And that it is. Absolutely 100%. Oh, wow, I didn't know how big TMNT was. Blair Witch wasn't bad at all. That's your opinion. The thing about Blair Witch that I'll give it credit for, I mean, talk about a phenomenon. I mean, everybody knows something about the Blair Witch. Like, you put somebody in the corner, it's like you might as well just call it Blair Witching, putting them in the corner. What if your favorite color is red because of Raph? Could be. I don't know. I don't remember that far back to know when I officially made red my favorite color. The comic books, they were all red. In the comic books, most of the comic books were black and white, but the initial intent was that all of the Ninja Turtles headbands were going to be red. And it was only, I believe, with the cartoon series where they said, we have to differentiate these guys. And so they gave them the 4 different color headbands. And the cartoon also put the first initial of their name on their belts. So there you go. Good times all around. One person I think deserves a little bit of a pop here is John Duprez, who was the composer who wrote the music for this movie. And some of it felt a little weird at times, but I thought that for the most part the music beautifully captured the essence of this film. This film was darker, I think, than some people thought it was going to be, but it had a lot of humor. It had a lot of bright moments, a lot of great moments that when the music needed to get dark, it got dark. When the music needed to tell you that this was supposed to be fun, you felt fun, right? I thought John Duprez did such a great job. And you got to remember, he probably, for the most part, just sat there on a synthesizer because, again, this didn't have a huge budget. So it's not like they could go out and get a huge orchestra like Star Wars or Jaws or Indiana Jones or anything like that. This had to be done with as little money spent as possible. And the quality that they got out of this with what they put into it is tremendous. And, of course, all of the animatronics and the turtle costumes and Splinter were all done by the Jim Henson's studio. And I want to say, I believe, anybody can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe this was the last major project that Jim Henson worked on before he passed away. And I want to talk about those costumes really quick because I feel like they had some rough edges to them, for sure. And going back and watching now in full high definition, ultra high definition, 4K, a lot of those little rough edges are a lot more noticeable. There was, right at the beginning of the film, my son and I were watching, and when the turtles first jump into the scene, I thought something looks weird. And I went back and watch them jump out again. And Leonardo, Michaelangelo, and Donatello, from the knee down was just white. And so I don't know if that was for comfort and they thought no one's going to see it on the film, or if they were covering up something because they were in a sewer set, right? But then you see Raph coming around the corner later, and it's in one shot. It's not a second shot, not an edited shot. Raph comes around the corner later, and he's fully suited up. So I don't know what we were looking at, but it was just pure white from the knee down. And you'd have to kind of almost assume the shot was a good shot. It was exactly what they were looking for. Working in those costumes is extremely difficult. And so maybe they saw the shot and went, look, no one's going to notice that. Cut, print, check the gate, move on. Right? And that happens a lot in movies where they just figure like, hey, nobody's going to notice, right? Like no one's going to notice on a TV this big with standard definition. I don't know if they were predicting that the TVs were going to be so high definition you were going to catch every little thing in their lifetime, maybe even. Going back to the chat here, that was kind of lame how Tatsu was taken out so quickly with the golf club. Assuming you didn't see it previously, I'm recommending. Recommenting. I cried when Splinter was chained up. That broke me. Yes, I did see that. I was going to get back to that, but no problem. I wonder if the drawings of the turtle and April, the turtles that April drew, if they were real drawings the producer-director drew for the storyboard. I didn't look that up because we don't deal on this show with as much behind-the-scenes type of stuff as we do on the Positively Pet Sim show. This is more about the story, the actual movie itself. But I wouldn't be surprised if those drawings that we see April doing in the film were legitimate, like pre-production, maybe storyboards, maybe not. Or they could have been mock-ups, things like that. They're just sketch drawings like that they do for movies, so they can show producers and movie studios what the movie's going to look like, right? It's famously how Star Wars got picked up by 20th Century Fox, because nobody understood what George Lucas was doing. So he hires Ralph McQuarrie to come in and do these paintings, and that's how he's able to sell Star Wars to 20th Century Fox. So I'm guessing that that's exactly what those are, that those were done for the film as, sketches and showing what we could see in the film, and they made their way into the film. That's going to kind of do it for the cast there. But yeah, the costumes, the turtles themselves, the rough around the edges part of those costumes doesn't go against the film at all. I'm not going to mark it down because you can see like the neckline here where the suit ends and the other suit tucks into it, because I think it's done so well you kind of just forget about it, right? You might get lost in it, but I will say with that high definition, like I said, it's tough to miss a lot of the little rough details, some of the issues. Donatello in one scene gives a big laugh, and you can literally just look right into his mouth and see the guy in the suit. You can see the mouth and eyes of the guy in the suit in what is like nightmare fuel. It's crazy when that moment happens. It's when Raph first wakes up. If you guys ever want to go back and check it out, when Raph first wakes up and they're on the farm, he gets up and he and Leo kind of hug it out. And Donatello's there with April, and he said it's a Kodak moment, and he just gives this big old laugh, this ha ha, and when he opens his mouth, there you'll see it. You'll see a mouth and two eyes back there. It's pretty funny. What, really? I need to see that. Yep, it is. It's hilarious. It's also terrifying at the same time. But the suits get a little cleaned up for the second one, for the sequel. And it's funny because I always felt like the suits felt like they weren't as good, though. Though there was less rough around the edges sections and stuff, there was something I just felt wasn't as good as the originals. And I've also felt that the Turtles themselves have never looked as good in film since. I think that first movie still stands the test of time as being my definitive version of what the Turtles should look like. I really do feel that way. I thought they were overdone in the Michael Bay versions, even though I found a lot to enjoy about them. I just thought they were too much. They were also massively huge. They looked like they were like 7 feet tall. And the Turtles, through comics and even in the cartoon series, were much shorter. And in this film, they looked to be a little bit less than average height. They were all shorter than April. Whenever you saw April standing next to them, she was always taller than them. And I like that. I like that look. And the Shredder looked amazing in this film. I thought the Shredder looked really, really cool. And, like, the Shredder could have been a massive joke. I mean, the Turtles are allowed to make fun of him because of his name. But what you don't want to do is present him in a way where he's not taken seriously, because it's very easy with any of these characters to turn them into punchlines to the audience. And the Shredder never becomes a punchline to the audience. He's treated with a lot of respect. He is treated as someone to fear. And there's even scenes that were initially going to be in the film that would have established Shredder as being even more of that bad guy that you should be wary of when he fight. There's more fight scenes with Shredder, just not with the Turtles, which is another great moment. But we're going to get to one of my pet peeves about that scene as well. Tatsu is an original character and plays, again, kind of Shredder's right-hand man, his henchman. We have Splinter is, I'm going to say it again, I think this version of Splinter is also the best version of Splinter. And it all has to do with how he communicates with the Turtles. The second one, not quite as good, but this one, I mean, it's treated truly as a loving, caring father who is looking after his sons. They come in and he's like, were you seen? Because he's worried if they are seen. He's not asking him that because he's trying to test them. It's because he's concerned that if they're found out, that bad things are going to happen. And the one-on-one that he has with Raph early on in the film, and it's one that is just so powerful. I mean, and this is two essentially puppets talking to each other, Raph and Splinter, right? And Splinter is telling Raph, like, you're unique among your brothers because all the stuff you're going through, you're not sharing it. You're not making it out. You're not putting it out there so your brothers can help you. You're carrying the weight on yourself, and you need to start letting that weight go. And he reminds him that he's here for him. And it's a great moment. Again, between two puppets, it's a great moment. But the plot of this film is pretty straightforward, pretty simple. There's not a lot of thought process going into it, not from the filmmaker's standpoint. I mean, obviously they thought through what they needed to think through. But from an audience standpoint, you don't have to overthink this movie. And you definitely shouldn't overthink this movie. I mean, it's pretty basic, pretty simple. Essentially, we've got this Foot Clan has been recruiting teenagers across New York to steal stuff for them. All right. Now, there is a question of why. What? Like, I guess they're stealing and reselling on the black market. I don't know. Like, they don't really talk about. It seems like a lot of the kids are just keeping the stuff they steal. But they're in this warehouse, and the kids are off doing whatever they want. You know, they're the bad seeds. They're smoking. They're gambling. They're playing video games. They're skateboarding. You know, all the things you bad kids do. And they're listening to MC Hammer. I mean, come on. But yeah, it's that's basically what it is. And you get it shot at the Foot Clan, the foot soldiers, early on in a van, and they look good. They look good, and they're actual people, not the robots that you see in the cartoon series. Because in the cartoon series, you can take out as many robot foot soldiers as you want. You just can't hurt actual people. So, but this one, they're real people, and we see them training. We see them becoming members, and then we get to April. We get introduced to April, who is giving her report on, as the opening scene is going on, April is talking about the crime wave that's going on. And when she leaves the news station, we never get to see April in the cartoon jumpsuit, the bright yellow jumpsuit, which I'm okay with. But she does come out in like a yellow raincoat as sort of a callback to the cartoon series, which is a nice little touch. And they set up things that are to happen later, her being scared of the rat. She gets jumped by some guys outside the news station. The Turtles take out the light and take out the guys that are trying to mug her, saving the day in their first real battle, their first fight, their first real fight. And in the process, Raph loses his sai, which is a big part of the story for the first quarter of the movie. And we also get a little bit of language in this Ninja Turtle film. We got a little bit of damn going on in this one, which in 1990, that was getting a lot of overly conservative mothers up in arms that their children, oh, how dare you, swearing, cursing in my child's film. The S word was said in Superman like 30 times. So, oh, how far we've come in our blockbuster film writing classes. But Raphael says it, I think, 3 times in the film, and I think Michaelangelo says it once. He's when they're watching The Tortoise and the Hare, Michaelangelo says, "Ninja kick the damn rabbit." So it's interesting. It's interesting how far we've come, right? And so now we get introduced to the Turtles. The Turtles are all excited. They're acting like kids. They come in and they show respect to Splinter until it's time to meditate on everything, which they decide to play Tequila, the song Tequila, for those of you who don't know, and party. And that's their way of celebrating. The Turtles order pizza with everything but anchovies. And we follow Raphael quite a bit. He goes and sees Critters, another 80s flashback there. And it was kind of funny that he walked in and was like, ugh, you know, like who comes up with this stuff? But it's at that point we meet Casey Jones, and the little back and forth between Raph and Casey is a lot of fun. You know, the Jose Canseco bat, you know, tell me you didn't pay money for this, you know. And then he's like, new game, cricket. And Raph's line of, cricket? Nobody understands cricket. You got to know what a crumpet is to understand cricket. It's really, really funny. And but then, of course, Raph gets really frustrated because Casey gets away, and he just wants to get his hands on Casey at that point. And that's when Splinter and Raph have their emotional moment. And so we're establishing these characters, though. We pretty much know that Leo's the leader, Mikey's the goofball. Donnie's the only one that feels a little bit like he doesn't have a specific thing, because they didn't make him like the cartoon series where he's the tech wizard, right? Where it's the later films brought that back and made Donnie the tech guy. In this one, yeah, they mentioned some things that Donnie knows how to work on this and that, but he's basically just kind of along for the ride a lot of times on this one, where, he's just trying to come up with things to join in with his brothers. Like, that's his gig, that he can't think of anything good to say, which is funny considering he's voiced by Corey Feldman, who played Mouth in The Goonies. So we keep following April. April's still going after the Chief Stearns, and because she's on television, the Shredder sees her, and he sends his foot soldiers out to shut her up, and that backfires on them as Raphael takes them out. And because April was knocked out before, he picks her up and he carries her to the turtle lair, only for one of the foot soldiers to secretly follow him, and thus finding out where they are. And after April wakes up and we get the explanation of where the turtles come from, now we're taken to April's place above the antique store, which is a cool little scene there. And they come back and Splinter's been kidnapped, and we learn that he's been chained up with Shredder's people, which is, it was pretty obvious. We knew where that was going. The turtles are down. They don't know what to do, and they stay with April. Raph and Leo have a blow-up, which has now become commonplace with the Ninja Turtles. And Raph gets taken out by taken out of the fight, a bunch of foot soldiers. And that comes one of the big fight scenes in the film with the turtle and the foot. Casey Jones shows up. They escape, go to that farm, and the turtles are just down. They're defeated. And Raph gets up and the spirits lift a little bit, but there's still something missing. And one of the best moments of the whole film happens at that point. You have Leo meditating and is able to connect to Splinter. And Splinter calls to Leonardo. And Leonardo grabs his brothers. They go out. They make a fire. And they're sitting around. They all close their eyes and begin to meditate. And Splinter appears in the flames and has some really emotional, heartfelt words for the turtles. And as a 9-year-old kid, and every time I've seen the movie since, every time without question, when Splinter is speaking to the turtles and says, "My final words are, I love you all, my sons." Now, the line "final words" got me started because even as a 9-year-old, I thought they were foreshadowing that there was a chance Splinter wasn't going to make it to the end of the film. And that crushed me. But then the line of, "I love you all, my sons," put me over the top. And if you know my story, if you know my relationship with my biological father, you know why that line is overly powerful for me. All right? "I love you" was just a way of saying good night because that was what was expected. My father didn't show love and affection the way other fathers did. My father never told me I did good at anything. It was always, what did I do wrong? Right? I could score two or three touchdowns in a game playing football, and why didn't I score 4? As a fullback, I could run for 80, 90 yards, which is good for a fullback. Why didn't I get to 100? I hit a home run. Well, yeah, but why'd you pull the ball? Why didn't you hit it the other way? There was always something wrong with me. And just to hear a father tell his sons with no judgment or anything, like, "I'm proud of you and I love you." If you didn't get your father telling you that in your life, that moment is super powerful because it's all you've ever wanted. It's all you've ever asked for was a legitimate, "I'm proud of you, good job, I love you." So yeah, that scene has always affected me throughout my entire life. Let's get to the chat a little bit here. I can never not hear Star Wars when Shredder says he is their father, which of course Shredder is talking to his big group of people in the warehouse there. And yeah, he says, I am your father. And it's just the way he says it too. I agree. It doesn't feel right. I cringe each time I hear it. I don't cringe, but I get it. But yeah, I can understand that. It's kind of in the delivery of it. The Turtles have never looked as good as they do in this movie. The creation of the costumes was way ahead of its time. It was amazing. And there's like, I think there's 3 or 4, maybe even more people for every costume. Because you've got the actor in the costume, you got the voice actor, you've got multiple puppeteers that are controlling the face, where you've got separate people for eyes, mouths. It's a whole production with these things. It's absolutely incredible. I was a little bummed they didn't have her in yellow. It did throw me off a bit when I first watched it. And again, because I think more people went into this having seen the cartoon series. Growing up on the cartoon series over, say, the comic books, where April didn't run around in a yellow jumpsuit. But again, the cartoon series is trying to sell toys. And if you're looking at real life, people don't wear the same outfit every day. April does in the cartoon series because that's so her toy can have that outfit. One outfit. It's a standalone movie. They did a great job explaining everything and everyone. You didn't need to see the cartoon or read comics to understand it. Absolutely, that was one of my big points there. If you've never seen any Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle cartoon series, if you've never read a comic book, you can watch this movie and enjoy it. And you can understand it. You can follow it. All right? Because now once the Turtles, so far, I'm sure you guys are with me here, because once the Turtles realize that Splinter's alive, they know where he is. I mean, they might know not know the exact location where Splinter is, but they know he's alive. I think they pretty much realize Shredder's got him. Now it's time to get back and kick some butt. And they just walk right up to April and Casey, and they're like, it's time to go back. And they're looking cool in that sunrise. It's a cool shot. They get back. There's a few Casey Jones jokes. One that's a little outdated, to be fair. When Donnie says to him, he's like, "You're a claustrophobic." And Casey goes, "What do you want, to punch in the mouth? I've never even looked at another guy before." Which told you that's not what he thought. He didn't think claustrophobic meant a fear of enclosed spaces. He thought it was something else. Which April explains. And so he proves them wrong by leaving and going to sleep in the truck. So that's how he proves them wrong. And then in the truck, he even rolls down the window. So there's a little, again, there's pretty funny humor in this film. It's not too serious, overly dark. There's plenty of great moments for people of all ages in this film. Danny, who is the April's boss's son, is a little annoying throughout the film, but I think that's the point, because he's the target audience of the Foot Clan. He's rebelling against his father, whether his father deserves it or not. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. It doesn't matter. He's rebelling, and he's rebelling by going out and stealing. And it's definitely rebellion, because the father was like, "Why are you doing this? I make enough money for both of us." So he's not stealing because he's wanting for anything. Right? Unless, they don't make mention that the dad is denying him things, or that his dad doesn't do this or doesn't do that. It's more so because he's rebelling, or it could just be the thrill. Right? You hear that a lot. The thrill of breaking the law, the thrill of breaking the rules. And maybe he's getting his kicks. I don't know. But Danny betrays the Turtles and April not once. Once on his own, because he meant to. but a second time because he's stupid. All right? He betrays them because the Turtles and April come back. He gets a picture that one of the pictures April drew, then decides he needs to go back and talk to Splinter again. Which, I mean, I guess I kind of get it, but he gets caught, and then the Shredder finds the picture and knows, all right, they're back. Right? And now, all of a sudden, after talking to Splinter, Danny starts to realize, I screwed up. All right? And I think he's learning that throughout the film, but this is the moment where he really realizes, I screwed up. And Casey follows him there, which, of course, leads to the battle with Tatsu as they're trying to save Splinter. And he takes out Tatsu with a driver. And I do like the line, I'll never call golf a dull game again. So that's pretty cool. We then move on to the Foot Clan shows up to take out the Turtles in their lair, but they know they're coming. They set up the trap for them. They take them out. And I love the line, Raph's just eating an apple. And he's like, I really do hope there's more of them. And, of course, here they come. And Raph's like, oh, good. And here we go. Here's the big climax, the big grand finale. Turtles are fighting their way through foot soldiers. It's a lot of fun. This is the part, though, that parents weren't happy about in 1990, that it was too violent for them. And the movie even makes it a point that as the Turtles are fighting these guys, you'll see at other points in the film, you'll actually see them crawling away or getting up and kind of walking away, defeated. Not dead, not sprung across the ground for the whole time. It's more like video game characters. Well, they'll be on the ground and then poof, they're gone. So it's kind of telling you, like, they're not killing anybody, right? They're fighting. Their backs are up against the wall. They're trying to save the city. They're trying to save people from Shredder and his group. And they're taking out the foot soldiers are no match for the Turtles. Until we get to the rooftop, and here comes the Shredder. And the Shredder is taking out the Turtles. Boom, boom, boom. They are no match for Shredder. He is above and beyond, skill-wise, what they are. And here's one problem I have with that scene. No, this is not a perfect movie. But I have one problem with that scene, and that is that at any point, the Turtles, at no point did the Turtles ever come at him all four at the same time. They all went one at a time, like a badly choreographed fight scene in any other film. Now, this wasn't badly choreographed, the moves we did see, but if this is your big bad guy and you've already established he can defeat each one of you individually, why is it at no point do they all just come all together? That's how you would defeat him. We talked about last week on our Cinematic History of Batman show on the Positively Pat Sim show. We talked about how one of the reasons why the Batman fight scene in Batman v Superman is so good is he is legit taking on multiple people at once. They're not waiting around for their turn. And so I thought the Turtles shouldn't have either. But they never did. And, of course, it's done because cinematically you need them not to until you get to the point where Leo is in a compromising position. The other Turtles throw their weapons away. One of Mikey's nunchucks ends up on the ladder. And Shredder shows how bad he is by saying, you guys are fools. You guys probably could have overpowered me with the three of you. But now all of you are going to have the same fate as Leonardo as I take him out. And then Splinter appears and lets him know, hey, I'm that same rat that you chopped the ear off for my master Hamato Yoshi. And Shredder realizes it's that same rat, takes off his mask. You see the scars on his face. And again, some people didn't like the way Shredder just charges at Splinter. But you have to remember, we make stupid decisions when we're reacting emotionally. Shredder wasn't thinking through this situation. With the Turtles, he could think one step ahead of them. With this, he becomes the aggressor. So he's making a poor decision. Splinter, on the other hand, is able to just go, oh, here he comes. Takes out Mikey's nunchuck that was on the ladder. Boom. Over the top goes Shredder. And because Splinter's not actively trying to kill Shredder at this point, I think Splinter's trying to make a point to Shredder in hopes that maybe Shredder might have an epiphany or something like that. But, of course, Shredder takes out the knife, tries to throw it at Splinter. Splinter catches it. There goes Shredder into the back of a dump truck that was put there by Casey Jones when he was trying to take out some foot soldiers. And here's the part I actually do have a problem with, a legit problem with. Casey then commits murder by activating the dump truck to squish Shredder in the dump truck. Now, we find out in the sequel that somehow the Shredder survived. I mean, you could almost make a case that perhaps Shredder he'd escaped the dump truck. But the problem is we actually find the Shredder in the sequel at the dump. So it's not like he wasn't in the dump truck the whole time. So that's legitimate, like real beef I have. Like I have a nitpick when it comes to the fight scenes with Shredder. I legitimately just don't like that Casey just, oops, I just killed a guy. That was a bit much. The other thing I would probably say, now that's pretty much the end of the movie. The Turtles celebrate. Splinter gives them the famous Cowabunga to sign off with, and we get the epic song Turtle Power, which if you haven't heard, get on Apple Music, get on Spotify, wherever you can find it, and look up TURTLE Power, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's a great song. Great song. In fact, the soundtrack is pretty darn good. But there's one thing I also would have liked to have seen in this film, and I'm sure there might have been a little bit more of it, but I kind of thought that the ending where Casey and April are, she's like, just shut up and kiss me, like, and they're all happy about it. It felt like it was a bit rushed. There's a lot of time that actually went by from the moment, from the moment that the Turtles lost to the Foot Clan in April's place to when they return. And all we ever see of them is them bickering and fighting until one moment where she's like, oh, you played professional hockey? And he's like, yeah, for under a year. And she's like, sorry about that. And he's like, yeah, me too. That's it in terms of the moments between them. After that, she's making fun of him because of the claustrophobia thing. So I get that most people, like, they kind of dig the whole April Casey vibe. But here it just felt like it was a bit too rushed. I wouldn't have minded a little bit more of that. But again, you're talking about a smaller film, smaller budget. I'm sure a lot of scenes ended up getting cut before they even started shooting. And I'm sure there's even more scenes that got cut after the fact during the editing process so that the film has a nice flow to it, which it does. The movie flows really, really well. We just watched it again today. I wanted to kind of have a little refresher. And it never slowed down. It never got boring, never got dull. It never had that moment where you're like, all right, can we get past the exposition here and get back to the fighting? I felt invested the whole time. I want to welcome Owen Carter jumping in on the show. Welcome, Owen. Thanks for saying hello in the chat. Makes for better theater when you go one at a time. Yeah. And that's I think that's what I was like kind of saying. Like the fight itself was choreographed, and it did lead to, because they weren't coming at them all at once. Like I said, it was more of a nitpick. It's not like they're definitely showing that the Shredder is a smarter, better fighter than the Turtles. And so the Turtles might not have been thinking like overly clearly, hey, we should be going at them all at once. The closest we got was where it was like rapid fire, but it was still one at a time, right? So, but I mean, I understand. Like, one at a time looks better because you're able to go smoothly from one thing to another. But yeah, thank you for that input, Mr. Owen. We got some more chat stuff here. Yeah, my dad wasn't great. No, you're right. Yeah, my biological father was not. It was different times in the 80s, unlike any other. Yes, it was. But I think everybody, in the decade they grew up, I think everybody kind of has a soft spot for it. Like people that were our age in the 80s who grew up in the 90s, they think a little bit different. They're like, man, look what we grew up with. You know, like, hey, I grew up during the Monday Night Wars, you know, for wrestling. Like that, how cool was that? And I'm like, well, I think it's cooler for me because I was old enough to appreciate it. I was old enough to understand why there was a war to begin with. But this movie definitely still to this day stands the test of time. And so that is why this is almost as high a rating as I can give it. It's not the highest rating. It's not my favorite movie of all time. But man, is it close. This, for me, is as they say, there's actually a song in the movie with this title in it, and Donatello says it. This movie, from me, Positively Pat Sims, is a 9.95. It is close to Positively Pat Sims' perfection as you can get. I love this film, absolutely, without a doubt. It is an A+, not an A++, that's perfection. A 10 is an A++, and we haven't gotten to that yet. But this is definitely an A+ film, and my recommendation is, I don't care if you're a Ninja Turtle fan, I don't care if you're a comic book fan, or if you're the cartoon fan, this is a movie that I think deserves to be seen by everyone. There is something in this film for everyone to enjoy. There is a charm and such a great quality to the guys in the suits and how well those suits were done. Everything there is practical. It's all there on set, performing in real time. And there's such a cool element to that. The voice actors do a good job. The story's good. The script is actually really strong. I really highly enjoyed and always enjoy watching this film. And the Ninja Turtles, to this day, stand as one of my all-time favorites. Excuse me. Sorry, I got a little tickle in the old positively throat. I have Ninja Turtle stuff. You just can't see a lot of it, but I do have the actual comic book of the Ninja Turtle movie. It is an actual one from 1990. I also have several other Ninja Turtle comic books, including Batman versus the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've got Ninja Turtle Funkos. I've got an original, 3 original Ninja Turtle toys from back in the 80s. The only one that we couldn't find, I know I had it, but I can't find it, is Donatello. But Raphael, Michaelangelo, Leonardo, we have the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle toys. And I'm a big fan, huge fan. I mean, if there was a good cosplay Ninja Turtle costume that looked like these turtles in the films that didn't cost in the thousands, I would so have one. I would probably wear it. Like it would be in my cycle of costumes. It's like Ninja Turtles, Batman, Superman, and just let's just do those 3 over and over and over. Excuse me. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for Honest Reviews with Positively Pat Sims right here on the Positively Pat Sims YouTube channel. I want to thank everybody that jumped on and joined us for today's show. We did pretty well, considering. And thanks for everybody that jumped on in the chat and contributed in the chat. I absolutely appreciate it. Appreciate you guys. Enjoy the rest of your Labor Day weekend, and we'll see you on Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for our next Warriors Unleashed, where we're going to have on DDPY Warrior Angela Dolina, who is going to be talking with us about gaining confidence and what that really means for you in your life. And then we'll see you Friday and Saturday for our next rounds of even more Warriors Unleashed, the Positively Pat Sims show, and one more honest review next weekend. So don't miss it right here on the Positively Pat Sims YouTube channel. So, guys, we say it every time. We're going to say it again. Take it easy. And if it's easy, as my throat tickles again, take it twice, guys. We'll see you next time right here on the Positively Pat Sims YouTube channel. So long, everybody.
Are dim, but the room still hums with the echoes of laughter and the moments we spun. Every honest word is like a stone in a stream. It rippled, it lingered, it shaped our dream. And if you ever wonder where I'll be, look to the screen. I'll be there, you'll see. Goodbye to the faces that stayed in the glow. Goodbye to the voices I always know. This isn't an end, just a bend in the road. Goodbye for now, my friends, my show. The cameras rolled and the stories grew. Each review a mirror of me and you. Through coffee stains and late night calls, we built a world behind these walls. And